Welcome to this week's episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. Today we're talking taxes. And before you freak out or you want to run the other direction or any of those like weird feelings come, I'm literally going to present to you. I just called her the tax angel. I don't know if have you ever been called that before?
I have not. I kind of like it though.
But I'm so excited to have Cindy Dillard join us today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I am so excited you're here, and I'm probably I feel confident it's probably a non-traditional approach. I don't know how many times you've been able to be on a podcast and talk about the to me what is one of the most critical discussions to really have when you're growing a business, because I think it's a lost opportunity. But I know for Justin and I, and you know this already, but I'm going to share for the listeners. We had experienced success to some degree with, a few CPAs, tax specialists, I would say, in the past. But what we had been saying for a while is we actually want like a strategist, somebody that's steps ahead of us, that can see the opportunities that we know we're missing, because this is not our zone of genius. We're quite horrible at this stuff. We don't have any learnings. And here we are in our business paying people to do all of these other things that we're not good at. Like, I really wanted
Hmm.
somebody to come into my world. And then I remember reading your card, or like the decal on your window. And we walked up and we're like, it literally says tax strategist. We're like, yes. And you haven't disappointed since then, because I feel like I've learned so much from you through the process too. So I'm excited to be able to extend the learnings to our listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it was fun to get to know you guys and really teach you the things that most people don't know. So let me tell you a little bit about my story is I worked for Lockheed Martin for years and I was a single mom, had a house, had a 12-year-old. I guess he was only 10 or 11 at the time. And my tax guy said I didn't have any deductions. And I just thought something is wrong with that because I had a side business that, and I owned my home and I was paying childcare still for Chelsea after school and on the summers. And so I thought I better go figure out what I don't know. And once I found out what I didn't know, I thought, how can I teach the masses? So I took my 12-year-old out of school, moved to Phoenix, Arizona to follow my dreams. And it has been a dream. And I love what I do. When I start talking about taxes, I get so excited. I almost get tongue tied because I'm so excited to tell you so much about it. I always apologize to my clients because I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just am so excited to tell you everything I can tell you because I didn't realize how different I was until I saw so many people. And I look at your taxes from the 30,000-foot view. And what else can we do? And if I move this number here and if I do this, what is that going to do to your taxes? And then trying to educate you about that and teach you about that um, is just so critical because you don't know what you don't know. And that's always what I get. Until I
100%.
teach you, you don't know. So that's my story. It's been a success. I've been in the Valley for 24 years and I love what I do. My 7-year-old grandson, he wants to do taxes when he gets bigger. So I'm so excited. I love it.
I love that. But that's your energy. That's what I love about you, is you make me excited about taxes. I mean, we're recording this in the beginning of February. True story. We're almost there, but I'm always like, okay, let's go. Like, I feel more prepared because you've come into our world. There's no
Hmm.
surprises, and in fact, we're talking and strategizing, and we're thinking of our purchases and like, oh, we need to ask Cindy and her team, like, what if we do this and what if this happens? Because it doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like an empowering decision that we're weaving
Right.
into our business. And that's really, after having that experience for a few years, I just want our audience to understand the same. And I think most listeners are women. And we talked before we hit record that I think sometimes we take a back seat to the financial discussion and then we step into
Hmm.
business and we feel a little bit helpless around the conversation. We don't even know what a P&L is. We don't even know,
Yes.
some of these very simple discussions, because I was right there, in the mix. And so that's really what I hope that you and I can create in this very short window of time together today.
Okay. Yes, we sure can.
So let's start basic. As I
Okay.
mentioned, we have a lot of emerging coaches, and so they're, first time filing in a business, or first or second, or maybe they're like, oh crap, I've didn't been doing business. I didn't know there were even opportunities. And so let's start very basic. What's step one in the journey of, if somebody's new and they want to be empowered around their finances? What's an easy first step?
I think the very first thing you can realize in this, my very first year, I had 450 clients, and it's because of this. So I want every one of you to listen to this. What am I already paying that's not tax deductible right now? So what did I pay in 22 that I couldn't deduct, or in 23 that I didn't think I could deduct, right? So I'm already paying my cell phone. I pay that every month. I pay my internet every month. I drive my car every month. I pay all my utilities, and then the air conditioner broke and the repairs on the house and whatever. Okay, all those are tax deductions for you. We're not going to take it 100%, but all those have a portion of being tax deductible. That's what most don't realize. So, whatever level you're at, even if you're the Mary Kay lady that just wants to buy your Mary Kay at wholesale, those are still deductions that you get to take, right? And that's any size business. Those are probably the things that I see the most often that are missed. So, if we sat back right now and said, okay, if you only made $100 this month, what would my write-offs be? Portion of the cell phone, the internet, your vehicle, and to run your home. Very basic. Those are just the basic things.
And so can we actually like even like break that down a little more? Because I'm thinking, okay, if I'm brand new to this, I'm like, okay, if I do that math, Cindy, like if I made $100, but those deductions are 500, why do we want that to happen? What's the benefit of that to me ultimately as a taxpayer?
Because it offsets. So if you or your spouse have a W-2 job, any losses on your business are going to be offset by any losses are going to offset that W-2 income. Okay. W-2 income means paycheck. You have paychecks. You get a monthly paycheck or weekly paycheck, whatever, whether it be you or your spouse. Um, and I realized I had to clarify W-2 or paycheck because sometimes people don't realize a W-2 and a paycheck. So it's, are one of you getting paid by someone else? So if I have a loss in my business, that's going to offset the income from whatever my spouse is making. Or if I'm trying to create my business and have a W-2, that's going to offset my W-2. And a loss always helps you get back more of your money.
Excellent. Okay, great. I just wanted to like paint that very simple picture because I do think that sometimes we don't even understand the puts and the takes of taxes and the goal of really reducing the taxable income through the losses that we can create. And sometimes I think there's this, well, I don't, like you said, I don't really have anything. I'm just starting
Hmm.
out. I'm this baby business, but there are things that you're already doing that can already offset that. And so even if you're not making profits year one or whatever, being
Hmm.
able to pull those losses in is a huge win for your family.
Yes. And it helps you realize okay, how much do I really need to make to replace that W-2 or that paycheck that's going to be tax deductible. So there's a couple of ways you can look at it that are really going to help you decide, do I want to do this full time? Am I going to keep this as a side gig? What does it do? So we can go back through your tax return and help you, and I could show you, anybody could show you, okay, if I can save you $15,000 on your taxes, how much money is that in your pocket? It's a lot different when it's your paycheck or W-2, right? So I like to teach my clients that, especially when they're on the border of whether they should keep doing it or not. You look at the numbers and dig into it and decide. I just had a client do that. They said, okay, one of us need to quit. We've got real estate, we're doing all this business. Which one needs to quit their job? So we went and looked at the benefits and everything they were doing to see which one could really afford to quit. And
Yeah, that's so good.
it's a numbers. Yeah.
It's thinking beyond that, and especially as new coaches, like, thinking about clients that are just starting out, they're not considering the tax benefits beyond the profit that's in their pocket. So I love that you
Yes.
brought that up because there's kind of hidden value in there
Yes.
for business owners that exceeds the actual profit that's in the bank at the end of the month. So good.
Yes. Yes.
So then can we talk about just I I mean, can you speak, I guess, to like the organizational component of, I'm going through the year and I know I'm paying some of these bills. How do I track them? Like, do you have a system or are there some suggestions of how to take the overwhelm of keeping track of all these and create maybe a process around it?
So I don't have a specific process because we have so many different personalities, and Blake, my son-in-law, he also works for me and he is a CPA. Well, his tracking, the way he tracks is completely different than how I track it. And I'm still pen and paper. Like I've got pen and paper all the time. And he's a younger generation, so he also does it on the computer, but it all comes through different ways. So however you best can keep track of it. Now, okay, so let's back up. Your internet, you should be able to log on and see 12 months of payments right at the end of the year. That one's simple, it's always there. Also, with any of your let's say the internet, cell phone, all your utilities are going to be there. The things that aren't going to be there are any supplies or anything extra that you purchase, right? So you need to keep some kind of a system that's going to track that for you. And in the beginning, I don't want you to go spend a bunch of money on something. So if it's pen and paper, use pen and paper and stash all your receipts behind it. Um, if it's an Excel, if you're good at Excel, man, I've got some clients that are amazing at Excel. Like they've got all these tabs. I'm like, okay, just tell me which one to go look at. That's not me. But whatever is easiest for you, and then another thing that always happens is getting caught up on the category. So I want you to realize the IRS doesn't have a coaching category. It doesn't have a software category. It doesn't have an app category. So I just need you to find a category that might work. There's only 20 of those categories, and I can get you that list anytime. Amanda, I can get it to you if you have anybody that asks for it.
Sure.
We have 20 categories is all. So figure out a system that's able to keep track of, and then really quick, let me just make this plug to pay your kids. So this is when you would have your kids track this for you. Chelsea did this for me when she was little. I set her down every night at the computer because I was working, I was doing taxes, and she had to plug in my receipts and what I was doing and where I'd been, and it started to keep track of that, right? Plus, you can pay your kids age 7 to 17. Gosh, I think this year it's 13,900 tax free. So let's put our kids to work. They're great at Excel. My grandson that I said 7, I call him my IT department because he already knows how to work all the equipment, right? So find whatever works, create a system with that. Now, I also have some people who wait till December. They go get a hotel room somewhere on a beach somewhere, and then they sit down and go through all that to get me their numbers. And that's okay too. Now, when you do it in December or January, that doesn't give us time to really do tax planning. But whatever you need to do, keep track of. Don't let the monotony of keeping track of. So don't keep track of the internet, the cell phone, all your utilities. If you know you can go pull those, right? But keep track of the supplies. Okay, I went to Albertsons or Walmart or Safeway and I needed to get notepads and pens or something, right? Those are the things that we miss. We miss those all the time. Um, it's amazing how I get somebody's stuff and I'm like, okay, you guys didn't go out to eat one time this whole year, And that's the other thing that I do. I'm asking you. If there's something missing, I'm going to ask you. So your preparer better be asking you, what are you missing on here? That's what I'm really good at. I fill in those holes and I just said to a client, I said to him last year, I said, hey, you guys could afford to put down some more meals and entertainment. I'm sure you go out to eat and talk about business because both of them are in the business. Well, he spent a whopping $250 more this year. And we laughed about it, but it's serious. The IRS allows you to take your spouse out and talk about business, talk about what you're doing. And if you guys are like me, I'm excited. I'm talking about it all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
going to at
we
least
are.
write something up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, we are. Well, I love that you're just reaffirming. I mean, I even think of in our household, I am QuickBooks organized. I'm snapping pictures of my receipts with every single purchase. And then Justin has like receipts tucked in like 40 different envelopes. He's late to the game. Then he ends up, he does have our daughter do all the sorting and organizing, and he's got stacks of physical receipts. So even in our own house, we have very different personalities. But the thing I want to pull from it is it doesn't have to be fancy. It can be pen to paper. It's just find a system that you can at least start with and
Hmm.
allow it to evolve with your business. And then maybe you hire a bookkeeper at some point when you no longer really want to keep track of that. You're not sure how. So that bookkeeper can set things up nicely for the person that comes in and really reviews your taxes.
And I think probably with that, Amanda, the biggest thing, the more is better. The more you give me, the more information you give me on that spreadsheet. If you don't know, put it on the spreadsheet. I have a client, him and his wife, he does all the books. And so he gives me everything. And I would guarantee that he probably pays less taxes than most because I have it all. I have every trip they've ever taken. I have all of it. So then I can go back to him and say, okay, this trip or this trip, this vehicle or this. And it gives me more stuff to really look at and ask questions. If I'm still trying to find the deductions for you, I will, because that's my personality. But if you give it all, then I'm coming back and saying, okay, was this a business? Was it not? Then we can go from there. And by the way, every trip you plan should be for business.
It is. It is.
Perfect.
Okay, well, let's go on that vein because that's really good. I think you've already alluded to a few things, some things that I missed that you helped me learn. But what are some of the most missed opportunities for taxes? So you already hit paying your child,
Yes.
and so that might be feel like a stretch. It did for me in the beginning of like, okay, I can pay up to, but like, where's a place to start with that, or how can we reframe that thinking as an opportunity to pay your child?
Okay, so with Chelsea, she was in dance and she was in dance 5 days, 6 days a week. And so what I did is I thought, okay, I have no money. How am I going to pay Chelsea for the deduction and still dance? So we created an account for her. I was a custodian because she's a minor. And then I had that account pay for all of her dance. So it wasn't so heavy that I was trying to put money into this account to pay her and pay for her dance. I let her dance be paid for by the wages I paid her. That one's really simple. If you just, and that one gets big. Okay, so I've got a client that's got 7 kids. Okay, that's a lot of money, right? And so what we decided is we earmarked two of the accounts that were really going to go to the kids. Then we earmarked tax accounts, vacation accounts. Just we did it through the 7 kids because to give 13,900 to these 7 kids each was a lot of money. And she just said, how, I don't even know what to do. So we backed into it. And especially like club ball, volleyball, volleyball's the most one I hear about.
Soccer.
Yeah. So have your child's account pay for that. And then as Chelsea got older, gosh, it paid for her driver's ed, then it paid for her car insurance. And it's a really funny story. When she was in her 30s, she was here in the office and she said, you need to go to the bank with me. Well, we went, it was still a custodian account. So she couldn't do anything. So for 30 years, we had a custodian account. So yeah, create that account. Plus, it established good credit for her. Um, Smart, start small, don't overthink it. I'm going to tell you that a million times. Keep it simple and don't overthink it. I
Yeah.
keep it simple, and
I
I'm
love
not
that.
kidding.
But I think the point here to make is you're probably already paying. Like if your kids are in activities, you're already paying. Now it's about paying your child, and there is work that they can do inside of all of our businesses for us, like assigning tasks so
Hmm.
they're an active member of the business, which I mean I think is so valuable anyways. And then you're using those funds exist anyways. So I love that. Okay, so paying your kids. What else is a missed opportunity? We already talked about those utilities and things at home.
Hmm.
What else
That
are
are
we
always
missing?
missed.
Yeah.
So the another one is called the Augusta rule, and you could Google it. It comes up in the IRS code. Is the IRS said that if you rented out your home for 14 days or less in a year, you don't have to claim it as income. So I want every one of your businesses to rent your home from you for 14 days. Okay, you're going to do fair market rents in the valley. And this last year in 2023, we had the Super Bowl and people were renting their homes for crazy amounts. So it's fair market rents. I have you sign a lease agreement. So it's between you and your company. And then the company writes the check for renting your home out. So
Yeah,
the Augusta rule
huge
is another
opportunity.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one's a
for
great
sure.
one.
Yeah. Any
Yeah.
others that you think we're missing, that are simple?
I think auto, when we look at auto, people always say, well, I track my mileage. That's great. But sometimes maybe it's easier or it's not easier. It's a better deduction if we looked at both. So tracking your miles is one. But what if we looked at actual? Because I pay that monthly fee to Jackson's to have my car washed every whenever, right? I want to. It's unlimited. But then my car insurance and anything I'm going to pay for that car, that's what they miss. They miss all of those things that add up. And if we depreciate your car, so if we take your car, the purchase of your car, then I want all those actual. I want to know what it costs for your car insurance. If you financed it, I can claim the interest off on that. That's another one that's pretty well, it's missed quite a bit. Now, something to think about. Okay, I realize we're in February. I want everybody to always get in the habit of getting your oil changed at the beginning of the year. So February 15th is soon enough, right? That'll still suffice. Let me tell you why. If you're great at keeping your miles, that's great. I had a gal, she was pretty good at it, but then something happened and she lost her records. And so she got a letter in the mail from the IRS that said, this is a mail-in audit. We want to see your mileage. She didn't have it. Something had happened with her records. So she went down to the Cadillac dealership where she always had her oil changed. We provided them, the IRS, all those records, and they came back with a no change audit. So that's another thing I want you to think about. Get your oil changed at the same place, same time of year, always the end of the year, beginning of the year. That's another one that people forget about. And then I always get that, you know, that guy that's like, well, no, I change my own oil. And I said, okay, but you need to at least once a year go someplace, pay for it, get it done. And it can't be
Smart.
Joe's oil change. It's got to be somewhere where the odometer is tracked.
Red,
Yeah.
yeah, red. Oh, that's good. That's a really fantastic one. I love that.
Yes, that's really good.
Any others? I'm trying to think of things that we've talked about
Okay, so
too.
travel. So, two
Oh yeah,
things.
travel.
One, if you are going to, you should always be traveling for business first and make it a vacation second. And then there's different kinds of rules. So there's rules if you want to just claim the weekend, you've got to work 4 hours on Friday, 4 hours on Monday to claim the weekend, right? Or if you're going to take a family, there's a bunch of different rules with that. But think of travel. It should always be for business first, then add your vacation onto it. Another thing is the IRS said, buy a property somewhere you like to visit because they will let you go visit as much as you want. Even if you have a property manager. So I'm from Idaho. We bought a cabin in Island Park, and I can go visit as much as I want, even though I have a property manager. And just to check on it, are the rents there? Is it being taken care of? So I can do it as much as I want. And that's home to me, right? That's where my mom lives. So every trip should be a deduction.
It's so genius. I mean, just like the learning, I think that that's the valuable part, and that's really where I want to kind of like round out the show is don't feel like you are a victim. Instead, find somebody like you, and we'll talk about how they can connect with you in just a moment, but find someone that looks at as taxes as an opportunity. And I think that's the big mindset shift when it comes to having a business is there are increased opportunities as business owners. It's built that way because, man,
Hmm.
we lose out a little bit, a lot as business owners,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Financially. And so these opportunities are ways that we can really double down on the risk that we take as
Hmm.
entrepreneurs. And it does come with that. But I think that I really just want to leave our listeners today feeling pumped like, oh, I want to go have these conversations and I want to find
Hmm.
the opportunities because they do exist. And I'm just so grateful that you've supported us through that process too. And
And I
we're
think
pumped about it.
that's exciting. And that's what I love because if I can teach you just a little more, it's just going to help your taxes even better, right? I said to a client the other day, I can't wait till I can talk to them. This is their first year with me, just because I know the savings, just because I know how I've educated them. So I want you to leave with the question isn't, is this deductible? The question is, how do I make it deductible, right? Am I
Mhm.
willing to go to those lengths to make this deductible? Am I willing to pay my kids so I can deduct it? Am I will and some of it, some of it's a job. It is. It's another job. That's why we want to pay our kids, teach them how to keep our records because it feels like another job, but I promise it's just putting money in your pocket.
Yeah, it's so worthwhile. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so grateful that you said yes to coming on the show and sharing all of the tax lingo and empowerment for our listeners. And I know some people are um, wanting support. And how can they connect with you? If they're not in Arizona, can they connect with you? Like, tell us the best way for those that want to continue the conversation deeper with you.
Okay. You can just email me. It's my email address, Cindy, Cindy, at sba-tax.com. Yeah.
Excellent. And email her I'm gonna put her email directly in the show notes too, you guys, so you don't have to memorize it as you're driving or listening on your run. Direct her, and even if you're not from Arizona, ask the question. She'll direct you, she'll give
Yes.
feedback, and she is a wealth of information for sure, as you've already noticed. So thank you so much for creating this space to be with us. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.